Hey, what's going on, gang? Wanted to share some information or an update regarding this scooter. Right after I finished recording the review, they reached out and said, hey, we've made some significant changes to the scooter and that they've upgraded the firmware, and now that the scooter has a top speed of 24 miles an hour. That means that everything that I said about this scooter as it relates to its top speed is inaccurate. So the top speed of this scooter is now 24 miles an hour. Everything else that I have to say about the scooter remains the same, but the top speed is 24 miles an hour now. Let's get into the review. Hello and welcome to the channel. Incredibly excited to speak to you all today about something that is a little bit different on the channel. If you follow this channel, then you know that I traditionally talk about electric skateboards and occasionally electric unicycles. But I decided to tackle this particular review for two main reasons. One of which is this is a new brand to the United States. And secondly, I love the warranty that this company is providing. A 2-year warranty, which is something that you rarely ever get when it comes to a lot of PEV related brands. So I said, you know what, this is definitely something to review. And I want to get into my thoughts of this particular scooter, but I want to just start off with some of the key and main specs. And then we're going to talk about the ride performance and such, and some of the things that I enjoy. And then of course, I'll also discuss some of my nitpicks as well. So some of the basic and fundamental things as it relates to this product: the weight is 43 pounds, which is not too heavy. It's relatively easy for individuals to pick up, whether that is a male or a woman. This particular product, when you fold it, is 19 by 29 by 21 by 25 inches. So it fits pretty well, like when you're putting it in your car, your trunk and stuff like that. I put it in the back seat of my truck, no problem. Put it in the trunk of my car, no problem whatsoever. So that's definitely pretty cool. Front and rear tire size, 10-inch tubeless. The wheel size in the front and the rear is 10 inches, which is pretty nice. The handlebar height is 38.48 inches. This is pretty cool. I'm 6'1", and I didn't have a big challenge whatsoever navigating this scooter. Hayes is about 6 feet as well. Didn't have a problem whatsoever. This particular scooter gets 19 miles per hour top speed. Now, some people are going to say, hey, 19 miles per hour. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. It can climb an incline of up to 28%. And this is something that I like about this scooter. Maximum payload of 287 pounds. So for the heavier riders out there, you can ride this scooter. And the battery is going to vary based on the model that you purchase for this particular scooter here. We have the VX2 Pro. So this is the more beefed up version of the scooter. The charge time, of course, is going to vary as well, depending on the size of the battery as well. The scooter also has a 500 watt-hour motor, which is pretty solid for, I think, a scooter in this price point and what it is supposed to be able to accomplish. They also advertise that it has a range of up to 37 miles. Now, we all know that there's so many different factors that impacts range. Rider weight, hills, inclines, weather, temperature, all of these different things play a role. The scooter also has built-in turn signals, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more because that is one of my favorite components on this particular scooter. It also has a dual braking system, which is very interesting, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on in this review as well. Now I want to transition to my thoughts about this scooter. One of the things that I really liked about the scooter was the aesthetics and the cable management. When you look at the scooter, it looks very good. And they also advertise that this scooter is relatively waterproof as well. And when you look at the wires, it looks like they did a really good job. Not only is the wire management going to help with the aesthetics, but when you talk about debris, water, different things like that, these are the kind of things that you want to be looking for when you're getting ready to purchase a PEV, especially if this is going to be something that is your primary form of transportation. If you're going to be riding it, to work, to school, things like that, you want to make sure that you have something that is dependable. Another component that I liked is the handlebars. They're very grippy and kind of beefy, so to speak, and very rubberized. So that's going to help, with that grip. And then how rubberized and how thick it is probably going to help mitigate like road vibrations and stuff like that when you're riding, so your hands don't get as fatigued, especially if you're a person that's using this as a primary form of transportation. Also like the circumference of it. I felt like the handlebars are not too skinny and they're not too big. I feel like they're just right. And for somebody with large hands, I appreciated how they felt because I felt comfortable and stable on it. The turn signals are incredibly well built and they're very bright, and you can see the turn signals in the daytime and at night. One of the things that I really like is how the turn signals are integrated into the handlebars. They're protected by like because the lights, the way it's made, the lights are kind of on the inside, and then the outer edges of the handlebars have like a rubberized protection. So if you drop the scooter, it's not going to damage the turn signals. If you were to bump it, putting it in and out of your car, it's not going to damage the turn signals as well. And they're very bright, and I like the way that they're strategically located. It reminds me a lot of like how cars, you know, modern cars now, they have the turn signals on the mirrors that you look out, your left and your right mirrors. And to me, that's one of the most visible places to put a turn signal light. Another component that I like about this is that because the lights are so bright, I actually would leave them on in haze as well in the daytime and even at night, because they just flash and you can see them from a really good distance. So you got those turn signals on the bottom of the scooter, then you also have them on your handlebar, and when you turn them on, they're really bright. So it really helps with the visibility even when you're not turning, to just have them flashing, especially if you're riding in the streets, because you're way more visible that way. The display is very bright and visible, even in like the sunlight in the daylight. This is something that's pretty good, because I've had scooters in the past where it's like in the daylight you have to like hover and look over it, because you just can't see it in the daytime. So I like that. It's very functional and easy to navigate as well if you're changing your speed modes, the power mode, different things like that. Very good screen indicator. It looks good. It's very bright. Nothing to complain about whatsoever. Now, the dual braking system is something that was very interesting to me, because the system has a regenerative brake in the rear, and then it has like a piston brake kind of in the front when you're braking. And when we initially took it out of the box and we were like kind of pushing it, you know how you just test things before you actually ride them, I was pulling the rear brake and then pushing it, and it didn't feel like it was braking. And I was like, what's going on with that? But then we realized that when you're actually riding the scooter, the faster you're riding, the more aggressive the rear brake is, which is that regenerative brake in the back. And once you get used to it, it's really cool. It feels really good. And you feel like you have a lot of control when braking, because you're braking from the front and the rear. And it stops well, it's very functional, and it does a wonderful job. Now, this kind of pertains to like when you're unboxing it and getting ready to ride it. One of the things I also liked about the scooter is that when you took it out of the box, you barely had to do anything to actually be able to ride it. You just put in a couple of screws up top and you're ready to ride. You're not installing bells, you're not installing lights or reflectors or anything like that. I've reviewed a couple of scooters and you have to do all of that, and it's like, it's kind of cumbersome, because you want to ride, you got to take it out, do all this stuff. This thing was literally take it out of the box, unfold it, put those 2 or 3 screws in to lock the handlebar in place, and it was time to ride and roll out. So that's another thing that I like. Everything about the handlebars and even the bell brake, everything feels good. It doesn't feel cheap. I reviewed some stuff on this channel and the bell seemed cheap and flimsy. You touch it and it's like, wow, what's going on here? Everything about what I'm seeing and, you know, this initial impressions, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm feeling. It doesn't feel like a cheap scooter whatsoever. It feels like something that you could ride every day and get some good usage out of, especially something that has a 2-year warranty. So it feels very good. Very little to complain about. One of the other things I like is, I guess you would call it the grip tape. It doesn't have a grip tape. It's like a rubberized grip tape. And I think that this would be helpful for road vibrations and stuff. But then also when you talk about if you are riding this, let's just say it's a little damp outside or the bottom of your shoe is wet, it's going to allow you to have a little bit more grip on the scooter when you're riding around and, you know, doing whatever you're doing. So I like the way that that is as well. That texture, it looks good. I think it's going to help with road vibrations and such, but then also give you some grip if the bottom of your shoes are a little bit wet. Something else that I like about the scooter as well. When you talk about the performance, 19 miles per hour top speed, and it accelerates really well. 19 miles an hour is not the fastest top speed, right? It's, you know, if you're in the Eastgate, you know, these boards are doing 30 miles an hour. If you're in the EUCs, some of these EUCs are doing 50 miles an hour. But where I think that this scooter shines at is 19 mile an hour top speed, is that it gets there quickly and it's aggressive, and it aggressively gets there. Now, it's not aggressive where it's going to throw you off or anything, but you definitely feel it when it's accelerating, and that can be beneficial when you talk about if you're in traffic or if you're in the streets. If you follow my channel, I'm not necessarily like the biggest top speed guy. The thing that's the most important to me is like the torque and how fast it gets to the top speed. So if I need to pass a car or it's kind of a dangerous situation, I need to accelerate, I like to be able to do that. So 19 miles per hour is not the fastest, but it does get there relatively quickly. So pretty solid. And that's going to take me into my nitpicks. I don't really have a whole lot of negative things to say about this scooter. I think for the price point, I think you're getting a pretty good scooter, but I identified a couple of small things. One thing I think that would make this scooter even cooler, and it's pretty solid, is that the scooter is all blacked out. And that looks cool. But when you talk about it at night, it makes it harder to be seen. Now, it does have reflectors on it, and that would help and stuff like that. But I would have really liked them to put in maybe like a RGB light system, maybe at the bottom of the scooter on the side, so that at night you can turn that on and it gives you some extra visibility. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we would ride at night with the turn signals on because they would flash and it was super bright, and it just increased the visibility of the scooter. But that's just one little nitpick that I have. Now, the 19 miles per hour, some people are like, ugh, that's not enough for me. But I think it's okay. So as a nitpick, I think you as a consumer, the rider, have to understand, how are you going to be using this? How are you going to be using this particular vehicle? Is 19 miles an hour, is that good enough for you? For some, it's going to be plenty enough. Others will say, hey, I want a little bit more. You've got to make that personal decision if that is enough for you. The other small nitpick that I have, and me and Hayes both kind of had it, the charger is kind of small to me. Nowadays, I remember when I first got into PVs, they would give me these really small chargers, 2 amps, 2.5 amps, stuff like that. Now, a lot of brands are starting to give us 3 amp chargers, 3.5. Some companies even 5 amp chargers on these Eastgates. And then some EUCs, you can purchase an aftermarket, charger, 10 amps and all these other kind of things. I wish that this charger was a tad bit larger. So that we could charge a little bit quicker. When we're riding these vehicles, if you're stopping to get a coffee or something like that, you might want to charge it up. But I think that something like this, you would probably be able to get to work and get to your destination. And then, so you would have time to charge it if you're at work and stuff like that. But it's just a small nitpick. It's something that I may have wanted. And that's going to take me to my final thoughts. There's a lot to like about that scooter, and they completely outweigh the few nitpicks that I've had. It looks good. It looks like a premium product. It looks like something that you can ride and have for quite a while. The wire management looks good. The braking and acceleration, very good as well. I love these integrated turn signals into the handlebars, and the turn signals at the rear of the scooter as well. Looks very good. The rubberized, grip tape that they gave us looks good as well. Very little thing to negatively talk about with this scooter. I like the price point. I think at around $1,200 for a scooter like this, this also giving you a 2-year warranty, that's solid. When you talk about a lot of these PVs, a lot of electric skateboard brands only give you a 6-month warranty. So to get something like this and they want to give you a 2-year warranty, I think that it says something about the company in that they believe in their product, number one. But then also, it makes me feel good if I was a consumer and I was going to spend $1,200 on something that's not a little amount of money. I want to make sure it has the longest warranty. I literally just bought a new light. And this lights are completely unrelated, but just to go along with the story, I recently purchased a new light so that when I do videography for clients and stuff like that, and it had boiled down to these 2 lights that I was looking at. One company had a 1-year warranty. Another company had a 2-year warranty, and you can add an extra year by just signing up for their newsletter. So when I purchased that light, which was the same price as the other light, one was giving me a 1-year warranty, the other one's giving me a 3-year warranty. Made my decision real easy. So when you talk about a scooter like this and you get in that 2-year warranty, that says a lot to me, and it goes a long way. If you want to learn more about this scooter, check out my link in the description. Not only does it support this channel, but it lets me know that you want to show me some love. So as always, I will see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. Peace.